Hello there, welcome. I'm excited to have you on this episode today, and I hope that you are doing okay today. So today I just have something to share with young couples, of which I myself am young and I'm married, by the way, and here is an evidence to prove that. Um, and you know, i conversing with many people, I've come to realize that making the decision to be married or to get married is one that has a lot to do with courage. You need a lot of courage. It's a show of courage um, to decide, to get married, especially at a young age, say in your 20s, and and all of that. And sometimes there are certain mistakes that we make, and there are certain mistakes, and those mistakes are not because we are necessarily bad people, but just because we are inexperienced. But we don't have to be inexperienced, really, because there are people who have gone ahead of us, and it is the plan of God that we should be able to learn. Paul said to, is it Timothy now, that let the older women teach the younger women how to love their husbands. So there is that room, especially because we are supposed to be part of Christian communities. There is that room for us to learn from one another, but that removes nothing away from the fact that marriage is a decision of courage. It is either a decision of courage or a foolish decision, because sometimes foolishness looks like courage, right? But and sometimes people who don't think you need courage to be married are people who have not really sat down to count the cost and to contemplate on the level of sacrifice it comes with. And that's the reason why people can't tolerate or can't stomach when they go through challenges, and those challenges begins to make demand on them. Sometimes some people are just thinking of leaving and all of that. But to those who stepped into it courageous, not knowing everything that the future holds, but exercising faith and allowing themselves to be led by God, and attaching themselves to another person who is a child of God. This one is for you. So speaking with young couples and prospective couples, one of the things that has really stood out to me and has really helped me, in fact, has really, really been a blessing to me, was when I realized that marriage is marriage does not begin with its best parts. Marriage does not begin with its best parts. It holds all of the potentials of good. It holds all of the potentials of bliss, of joy. It holds all of the potentials for it to be a blessing. But potentials alone does not make for manifestation. There is something that has to come on potential for it to become, for it to be made manifest, and that is what is referred to as work. So when you get married, and that's why many people have said that the first 5 years are the most difficult. And I don't think that's a pessimistic statement. I think it is difficult not because, marriage is a torture, but because you have to do a lot of work. You have to do a lot of work. It's going to set the foundation for the other years to come. So we must understand that every Christian godly marriage has the potential to succeed. But potentials alone will not sort it out. There has to be some work. Some work has to go into it. And sometimes we compare our marriages with other people's marriages, not realizing that those people are in their harvest season and we are in our planting season. That those people have had to do the work, have had to do the work. And I don't think anything prepares you enough for the reality that will hit you. Many times when you tell people that there is a difference, there is a world of difference between relationship and marriage, some of them think that you are overstretching. Some of them feel like you are overstretching, Some of them feel like you are overstretching it. You are overstretching it, that it is not so much of a big deal. There is a huge difference. There's a category difference between being in a relationship and being married, right? So my advice to you as a young couple, you just got married this year, or you are planning to get married next year, or you are in the first year, second year, third year of your marriage, don't think that it's just supposed to be a boat ride, right? Just don't think that you are supposed to cruise rather, but that it's a boat ride. That's what I meant to say. That you know when you are in a yacht, you don't necessarily have to contribute to the movement and the control. There is a captain who is supposed to be in charge of that. You are supposed to just be in the upper deck, chilling, sipping on some expensive wine and all of that. That's not exactly the same for marriage. It is a boat ride. You have to paddle. You have to paddle. You have to paddle. And if you do not exert that energy to paddle, of course, riding on the waves of God's power, but you have to paddle. If you don't do that, you are going to be very stagnant. You are going to be going around the same cycle over and over and over and over and over and over again. And you see, thinking about this, one of the blessings that I've had with regards to contemplating about marriage and all of that is that Jesus said to us that it is the two that will make the one. That means these two people that are coming together, it is the combination of the two of them that will make the one. What that means is that the quality of your marriage is not removed from the character that you are bringing into the marriage. So if you want to have a good marriage, you have to bring in a good character. You have to work on yourself to ensure that you are giving your best to it. If you do that and your spouse reciprocate, then you are going to have a good marriage. And I know that because there are many people who, especially in Africa, where we think that, we don't really take responsibility. When things are not going the way they ought to go, we immediately say, somebody's fighting me, my background is fighting me. But this really settled it for me that if two people will do the work under the hand of God, if two people will do the work, if two people will do the things that they are supposed to do, they will have the results that they are supposed to have. And you see, marriage is not your idea. Marriage is God's idea, right? And if it is God's idea and it is going to deliver the expectation of God, then you have to follow God's prescription. And the prescription of God is very, very, very simple. The command of God, because a commandment is very, very simple. It says for the man to love his wife as Christ loved the church. It says for the woman to submit to her own husband. And I think that this issue of love, selfless love, sacrificial love, and submission is something that you have to work at within the first 5 years of your marriage. Now, the Bible did not say within the first 5 years. This is me just, adding that. But I think it's a safe addition to add that within the first 5 years of your marriage, you have to ensure that you have convinced your wife that you are looking out for her good. This is important. That that's why it's work. You have to do the work to convince your wife that you are looking out for her good within the first 1 year, 2 years. The earlier you achieve this, the easier it will be for you, because she's not going to have to struggle with submitting to some of your decisions. Once she's convinced that there is no iota of malice behind this decision, there is no iota of selfishness behind this decision. But if you have a track record of selfishness where every instruction you give or every command, every direction you give is tethered to your own interest and your interest alone and not the interest of the family, she's going to have a hard time trusting your judgment. But the moment she knows that you are looking out for her good, but ultimately you are speaking for God, and so even though her good may not necessarily be nice, but she knows that if she follows through with what you are saying, she will eventually arrive at the woman God wants her to be. It becomes easier if she's sincere with herself to submit to you. And in the same vein, the woman has to convince her husband that she is submitted to him, that she's convinced that he's anointed by God to be able to instruct her, that she's convinced that he is wise enough to pilot the affairs of the home. The woman has to bring her husband to that safe space. If not, even when she's trying to bring an intelligent contribution and an intelligent observation with regards to the direction that the man is bringing, the man is going to see it as she threatening and contending with his authority in the home. So, and for me, that is really the work. That's the work that we have to book it down and do. That's everybody, we need to roll up our sleeves and do it. That you are trying to convince your wife that, see, I'm not looking out for my interest. Even when it is not nice, even when it is not, you don't feel good about it. It's not because I want to feel good and I want you to feel bad. It is because I am looking out for bringing this union to where God wants it to be, and for the woman to also ensure that her husband is convinced that she believes that he is a wise man and that he has been anointed by God to lead her. And when she's able to achieve this, then she will be amazed at the many decisions she will be able to turn around, just because her husband knows that, no, if my wife is contradicting me on a particular point, it's not because she thinks I'm foolish, but because she's seeing things from a different perspective, and she wants me to see things the way she's seeing things. So what am I saying to you? You are married, and all of the butterflies in your stomach or in your tummy, they are gone now. Responsibility is here. You have a child now, and sometimes you are wondering, I want my fairy tale life back. Sorry, you may not have that your fairy tale life back, in quote. So now is the time to do the work. Now is the time to throw in some seeds. Now is the time to roll up your sleeves and walk. Don't think you have missed the will of God. You have not missed the will of God. God has introduced you to a place of work, and as you walk, as you comply with the word and with the will of God, it is my prayer that God will grant that His grace will continue to carry you, and that your marriage will bring pleasure to the heart of God. God bless you, and I'll see you on the next one.